Ciao amici, I'm Master Spizzirri, and today I'm going to be teaching you the proper method and technique to stretch a dough ball. No matter if you're a restaurateur or you're a home baker, this technique is exactly the same as a pizzaiolo would be using in a New York pizzeria. So to start off, let's talk about the pizzas real quick. The dough ball size that I'm going to be using today is about 17 ounces, right? So a little bit over a pound. This is going to be a great dough ball size to make somewhere between a 16 to an 18-inch pizza, depending on how thick you like that base. However, if you follow the dough recipe that I have listed in the description, you can change the dough ball size based on your requirements. So if you're baking in your home oven, you're not going to be able to fit an 18-inch pizza in there. However, if you want to make a couple adjustments, a 12-inch pizza, I generally use between a 10 to 10.5 ounce dough ball. For a 14-inch pizza, I generally use between a 14 to 15 ounce dough ball. My preference though is about 14.5 ounces. Like I said, for a larger pizza, I can do really well at stretching dough. So if this particular dough ball is about 500 grams or somewhere about 17 ounces, and I can do 16 to 18 inches without a problem with this dough ball. Now let me show you what I've got here. I'm storing my dough inside of a professional dough box, but if you're going to be baking at home, you'll never be able to fit one of these big boxes inside of your refrigerator. I do have a recommended hack though that works really well. At the grocery store, they sell these individual containers. Get yourself a round one. They have these plastic lids. They snap closed really well. Make your dough balls. I actually like to spray a little bit of nonstick spray inside over here, then drop the dough ball in, close the lid nice and tight, and you can stack these as high as you want inside your refrigerator. The great thing about New York pizza is that the longer that it ferments in the refrigerator, the lighter, airier, and crispier that it gets. Because we call this step cold fermentation, you'll actually be able to keep that dough for at least 2 to 3 days, and it gets better and better over time. Depending on the strength of your flour though, you probably aren't going to be going over maybe 3 to 4 days in your refrigerator. But try it out, see what flour works best. Make sure you leave a comment below and tell me what worked best for you so that everybody can benefit from it. These dough balls, as you can see, they've started to spread. I've kept this dough out of the refrigerator for about 2.5 hours. The key to making a really nice pizza with cold fermented dough is the temperature of the dough before you put it into the oven. What I like to do is I like to use a range of about 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's important because I'm not going to be using one of those medieval torture devices. They call them dockers. It's like a roller that has spikes. I don't want to put any holes in this because I don't want to lose the gas that we retained. And this is a really great tip because if you can stretch this dough by hand in the method I'm about to show you, you're going to get a beautiful, light, airy pizza that's going to have all that beautiful air structure inside. The time that you're going to have with cold dough is going to give you a lot of problems in the oven because it'll start to puff up with these weird, irregular, giant bubbles. And all that's going to do is shuffle and move all the sauce and cheese and ingredients around, and it's not going to be a very good pizza. My dough balls right now are probably somewhere about 65 degrees. They're perfect. Now, I'm never going to go and take these out with my hands. The nice thing about using one of those resealable containers is that you can dump the dough directly into the flour. I've got a bowl of semolina flour. This is very fine semolina. This is Italian semolina flour. Use whatever you can find the easiest. Use the same flour that you maybe put inside the dough. And if you want a little bit of semolina, if you can't find this really fine one, they sell like a medium grind one. Most of the grocery stores in America, if you go into the baking aisle where all the flour is, they have even like Bob's Red Mill. You see that a lot. And they have a semolina that's a medium grind. It feels like kind of fine sand. You can mix 50-50, the white flour from inside the dough and 50% of that semolina, mix those together, and that's also a pretty traditional dusting flour. Sometimes we refer to it as bench flour. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this bench flour like this. I'm going to go around and I'm going to take this out. Now I use a couple different things. I prefer these like plastic bench scrapers. These are flat edge. This is one that came from one of the dough companies. They use these, but either one of these will work. There's a lot of different types of these that will be really good for you. The idea being that is that we're not going to come in here and take this out with our hands. I'm going to use this, and very gently I'm going to come around the dough, and by loosening the dough in this manner, I'm going to release it from anywhere that it's touching another dough ball, and then gently lifting with my hand and scraping with the other, and I can take this out exactly in the same way that it was in the box. Release this in here. Now, if you're using a dough box, it's really important that when you grab the dough ball and you're done, cover the dough with a lid, because under here, inside this box, we're creating an atmosphere, a climate. I don't want to over dry these dough balls, because if we create a dry dough ball, it's going to have the skin on the outside. And when you start to stretch it, you're going to notice these weird like cracks and, this kind of weird look texture. Sometimes they say like crepe paper. I say that it's probably going to look like the back of your grandma's hand. I don't want you to do a pizza like that, because when it goes into the oven and comes out, it's going to start to look like it's got these weird perforations all around it. So cover your dough boxes. Now from here, I got my dough inside the flour. I'm going to give this just a quick turn, just a quick dredge, right? Depending on the size of the pizza that you're making, this dough ball is obviously going to increase with the size of the pizza. It's really important to remember that we want to be gentle and keep all of the air that's in here. And just slowly, myself with my hands, I'm kind of pushing the air around, redistributing it. And you'll notice that as I get kind of towards the edges, this dough is kind of puffing up a little bit. If you see that it's making a giant bubble, don't be afraid to go ahead and just give it a quick little tear, and you'll see it just deflated. Now that I've got that deflating happening, I'm going to go and make this a little flatter around the edges, and this looks great. Don't be too afraid that you're going to lose all this air, because there is a lot of air that's retained inside this dough already, and it won't make this like tough, dense pizza. This will be really nice. So from here, the idea is that the dough should move along with you. It shouldn't be too tight, and it shouldn't feel definitely like it's stuck to the table. If it feels that way, don't be afraid to take a little pinch of flour and just kind of dust the work surface. Put this back, and you'll feel that now this dough can kind of move along with you. Now, the most important thing to make the traditional edge to a New York pizza is that I try to use my finger as a guide. If I do one finger from the edge that's not disturbed, I'll get this like beautiful round kind of rope-like consistency, which is like very common for New York pizza. If you go over the edge, what'll happen is you'll create these bubbles like this, which is also actually a pretty nice look. And I really love this look, because there is times when you get these charred bubbles that are there that actually eat very crispy, and they give another flavor, like a smoky kind of flavor. We're not talking about the big giant burnt ones that when you cut through them, they fall off the side and you have a big hole in the side of your pizza. I'm talking about as this opens up in the oven and starts to char, it'll make these like beautiful artisan looking bubbles. So from here, one finger from the edge. As I'm kind of doing this, I'm looking where one finger is, and I'm pressing straight down all the way around the sides. I'm not touching the middle yet. I'm physically just pressing all around the dough to make this uniform ring. Once I have this uniform ring, I'm going to take the dough and I'm going to flip it over onto the opposite side. And you'll notice that on the opposite side right here, it's got the indentations of where I pressed from the other side. Take your fingers and press literally in the same spots that you have that imaginary line. And what we're doing is we're trying to pinch those two sides together. By pinching those two sides together, this part here in the center now is locked in. And as this dough begins to rise, it won't move here, causing the outside edge to open up this way, making it beautiful, light, and airy. Sometimes I know there's a lot of people out there who don't eat the edge of the pizza. We call them pizza bones, because at the end when you eat your pizza, you have a plate full of these like pieces of crust. But the pizza bones to me is one of the best parts of the pizza. Let me know in the comments. Do you guys eat the pizza bones? Maybe we're going to start a trend. From here, now that I've kind of made this ring all the way around, the middle of this dough is actually pretty simple. I can work work straight to the edge where I've made that line. I can flip this over very simply, and you'll notice that the dough is moving along with me. It's not fighting. It's not snapping back. It's because this dough is at temperature. Being a little bit warmer, it's allowed to relax. And this is one of those big problems that I have a lot of questions come either on my website, leospizzirri.com, or in the DMs on social media. If you follow me at Ask Chef Leo or in these other places, you can easily send me a message, and I usually respond pretty quickly. From here, I'm going to turn the dough, and I'm going to continue to press it down until I know that I can get both of my hands in here. If you're making a 12-inch pizza, this is one of those things that it's going to happen much more compact, much quicker. From here, there's a couple things that we could do. In New York, a lot of times we do this slapping up onto your arms. And as we do this, the idea is that the dough becomes larger and larger, and I got this beautiful base. You can see all these air bubbles. The air bubbles here are what's key to the texture of the pizza, because the more air bubbles you have, the more crispy the bottom will be. The top of this is going to get sauce and cheese, so we won't see a lot of these big bubbles, but underneath, you're going to get the benefit, the crispiness of having that hollow bubble inside that's going to crust over on the bottom, and it's going to be super crispy. I love that part. Now, from here, there's a few different ways that we can do this. I showed you the slapping technique on my arms. There's another technique that I call like the boxing gloves. Like, so if you pretend like you're going to box somebody, your knuckles are sticking up like this. And on the edges of the dough where we had those imaginary lines, I'm going to put my knuckles into those little ridges. And then from here, you see it coming here, coming right here. I can stretch. The dough is very strong. If I hold this up at 12 o'clock, I can come back at 3 to 9 o'clock and lay this back down, and you can see how much we've stretched this even larger. The key is that I didn't overstretch the middle. The middle is uniform with the rest of this, and you could tell by the air bubbles and the structure that it's very uniform and even. How do we get this into the oven? How do we get this prepared to do sauce and cheese? This is the next step.